Hello. So we're going to continue to read Anastasia, and we left off starting at the chapter called "Who Lights a New Star," which is interesting because I've literally just said goodbye to my beautiful niece and her kitten that she brought for the day and night called Star. So let's just take a moment. Let's just take a deep breath. Let's just call back all of our energy from any place, any time, any event, any being from all levels and all dimensions. Let's call it all back to right here and right now so that we can absorb fully the codes and the activations that are layered and coded within these words that we are about to you're about to listen to, that I'm about to speak. Let's also call in our angelic teams of guides and helpers. Let's call in the amazing, majestic dragons. Let's call in the elementals, the fairies. Let's call in the animal spirits that are working with us right now, and they are many. The animal spirits have been coming in so strong in so many different ways. So let's call in all the animal, all the nature spirits, all of our ancestors and guides that are with us right now as we continue to journey together. So, who lights a new star? On the second night, fearing that Anastasia would once again assign me her she bear, the bear, I was thinking about the bear actually, or concoct up some new device to keep me warm, I categorically refused to go to sleep at all unless she herself lay down beside me. I thought that as long as she was beside me, she wouldn't be up to any tricks. And I told her, "You've invited me as a guest, or so you say, in your home. I imagine there would at least be a few buildings here, but you won't even let me light a fire. And you offer me a beastie to keep me company at night. If you don't have a normal home, what's the point of inviting a guest? All right, Vladimir, don't worry, please. Do not be afraid. Nothing bad is going to happen to you. If you want, I shall lie down beside you and keep you warm." This time in the dugout cave, there was even more cedar branches strewn around, along with neatly arranged dry grasses, and there were also branches stuck on the wall. I got undressed. I put my sweater and trousers under my head for a pillow. I lay down and covered myself with my jacket. The cedar twigs gave off the same bacteria killing aroma described in the popular literature as capable of purifying the air. I have to say, when I smell my cedar pendant, it's got this beautiful scent to it. I lay down and covered myself with my jacket. I've just read that, sorry. The cedar twigs gave off the same bacteria killing aroma described in the popular literature as capable of purifying the air. Though here in the taiga the air is already so pure, the air in the cave was particularly easy to breathe. The dried grasses and flowers contributed a still more unusual, delicate fragrance. Anastasia kept her word and lay down beside me. I sensed the fragrance of her body, which surpassed all other odours. It was more pleasant than the most delicate perfume I had ever sensed on a woman's body. But now I had no thought of wanting to possess her. After my attempt to do so on the way to the glade, which had resulted at the time in an attack of fear and loss of consciousness, I no longer felt aroused by fleshly desires even when I saw her naked. I lay down and dreamt of the son my wife never bore to me, and I thought, wouldn't it be wonderful if my son could be born by Anastasia? She's so healthy, sturdy and beautiful. The child then too would be healthy. He would look like me, like her too, but more like me. He would be a strong and clever individual. He would know a lot. He would become talented and prosper. I imagined our infant son suckling at his mother's nipples and involuntarily put my hand on Anastasia's warm, subtle breast. Immediately, a shiver ran through my whole body and then dissipated at once. But it wasn't a shiver of fear, but something else extraordinarily pleasing. I didn't take my hand away, but only held my breath and waited for what might happen. Next thing I noticed was the feeling of the soft palm of her hand on mine, and she did not brush me away. I raised my head and began looking into Anastasia's marvellous face. The white twilight of the northern night made it seem even more attractive. I couldn't take my gaze off her. Her greyish blue eyes looked at me tenderly. I didn't restrain myself but bent closer and quickly and carefully, with just the slightest touch, planted a kiss on her half open lips. Once more a pleasing shiver ran through my body. My face was enshrouded with the fragrance of her breath. Her lips didn't utter, as the last time, "Do not do this, calm down," and I had no fear at all. I was still haunted by the prospect of a son, and when Anastasia tenderly embraced me, stroked my hair, and pressed her whole body against mine, I felt something indescribable. Only upon waking in the morning was I able to realize that this kind of magnificent feeling, blissful excitement and satisfaction, was something I had never once experienced in my entire life. And I think these real blissful, true blissful moments is things that many haven't experienced because we've been cut off from our true divine nature due to all the programming, all the overlays, all this stuff that we have to go through a process on our awakening journey and our healing journey of healing in the body. As we do that, more crystals, light moves into the body. We start to activate our chakra systems. That starts to flood our body with this light. You're right, sweetie. Come down, darling. You can come down. You might be able to see just there in the corner my little cat Phoenix, who's just trying to get my attention right now, and it's working. So we do that, and then we can start to feel the joy more running through our veins. I was in the woods the other day, and I was walking, and I was listening. I'm going through a Kundalini activation right now. I was walking, I was in the woods, I was dancing, I was listening to music. I was feeling so much joy in my body. I was feeling so happy, so joyful. I could feel it in every cell of my body. And when I was walking home, I have to walk down a main road, but I was still listening to my music, and I just wanted to dance. And I was just like, do you know what? I just don't care. And I danced all the way down the street. And I just thought, do you know what? People driving past in the cars, well, it might make them smile on the way to work. And I got a few smiles, a few waves, and and I wasn't doing it for that. I was doing it for myself because I just felt like dancing. And I could imagine a time where we just used to dance, skip, hop, jump. We just used to be so joyful and in touch with our bodies and in touch with the joys of being on this beautiful planet. And it just felt so good. And I just thought, wow, look how far you've come, Corinne, that you've just healed so much inside of you that you can just do that and not really care whether people are judging you, what they're thinking about you. So yeah, but it's that joy that overcomes you that just cannot be contained. So it said he never felt that feeling in his entire life. Another peculiar feeling: after a night spent with a woman, I'd always felt a sense of physical fatigue, but here everything was different. In addition, I had the feeling of some kind of great co-creation. My satisfaction wasn't just something physical, but had another dimension I couldn't quite comprehend. One I'd never experienced before, extraordinarily lovely and joyful. The thought even flashed through my mind that life was worth living just for this feeling alone. And why had I never experienced anything that even came close to this before? Even though there had been all sorts of women, beautiful women, beloved women, women experienced in love, Anastasia was a girl, a tender, quivering girl, but beyond that, there was something in her that belonged not to a single woman I had known. What was it? And where had she gone now? I made my way over to the entrance of the cosy dugout cave, poked my head out and looked out into the glade. The glade was situated at a slightly lower level than my nighttime resting place. It was covered by a layer of morning mist a half metre thick. In this mist, I could see Anastasia spinning around with outstretched arms. A little cloud of mist was forming about her, and when it covered her completely, Anastasia sprang lightly into the air, stretched out her legs in a split, just like a ballerina, flew over the layer of mist, landed in a different spot, and once more, laughing, spun a new cloud around her, through which could be seen the rays of the rising sun, gently caressing her body. It was a charming and delightful scene, and I cried out with an overflow of emotion. Anastasia, good morning, my splendid forest fairy. Anastasia. Good morning, Vladimir, she joyfully called out in response. It's so delightful, so wonderful. out right now. Why is that? I cried as loud as I could. Anastasia lifted up her hands towards the sun and began laughing with that happy, alluring laugh of hers, calling out to me and someone else besides high above in a sing-song voice. Out of all of the beings of the universe, only man is given an experience like that. Only men and women sincerely desiring to have a child between them. Only a man having such an experience lights a new star in the heavens. Only a man striving for creation and co-creation. Thank you. And addressing me alone, she quickly added, only a man striving for creation and co-creation and not for satisfaction of his carnal needs. And again she went off in trills of laughter, leaping high into the sky, stretching her legs into a split as though soaring over the mist. Then she came running over, sat down beside me at the entrance of our nighttime resting place and began combining her golden tresses with her fingers, lifting them up from the bottom. So you don't consider sex to be something sinful? I asked. Anastasia stopped dead in her tracks. She looked at me in amazement and responded, was that the sex the world implies in your world? And if not, then what is more sinful? To give of yourself so that a man can come into the world, or to hold back and not allow a man to be born, a real man? I started thinking, in actual fact, my nighttime closeness with Anastasia could not possibly be described by our usual word sex. And this is a thing, right? As everything has been distorted in our world, sex has been distorted, perverted, and there's lots of pornography. That is an absolute inverted program that is out there. There's a video on my channel about that, and that's not to judge anyone that watches it, right? I used to do, and I started to realize what was going on with it and how it was really warping my energy field and my mind. And it's that, and again I talk about how when I was growing up as a teenager, it was really like women's equality was sleeping with as many people as men did, that was somehow equality, that was somehow good. But all it was doing was corrupting women as much as men had been corrupted as well. And everyone's just like, our bodies are sacred, and it's physical connection is not bad, but our bodies are sacred, and we're supposed to come together through love, through sacredness, and that's been distorted in our reality. And why did nothing even approaching that experience ever happen to me before? For that matter, I would venture to say with a great many others, you see, Vladimir, the dark forces are constantly trying to make man give into base fleshly possessions to prevent him from ever experience God-given grace. Yeah, so there's a lot of things I'm coming across now about Tantra, about how bodies are supposed to come together in this energetic union, and actually move this creational energy up the body rather than having it all siphoned out of the body through the sexual practices that have been prevalent and ingrained into us all growing up. Then all sorts of tricks to persuade people that satisfaction is something you can easily obtain, thinking only of carnal desire, and at the same time they separate man from truth. The poor, deceived women who are ignorant of this spend their lives accepting nothing but suffering and searching for the grace they have lost. But they are searching for it in the wrong places. No woman can restrain a man from fornication if she allows herself to submit to him merely to satisfy his cardinal needs. If that happens, their life together will not be a happy one. Their conjugal life is only an illusion of togetherness, a lie, a deception accepted by convention. For the woman immediately becomes a fornicator, regardless of whether she is married to the man or not. Oh, how many laws and conventions mankind has inverted exactly in an attempt to artificially strengthen this false union. Yeah, the dark forces don't want the true divine unions to come together, because in true divine union there is so much power in that love that it instantly starts to dissolve those illusions. Laws both religious and secular, all in vain. All they have done is cause people to play around, accommodate themselves, and create an impression that such a union exists. One's innermost thoughts invariably remain unchanged, subject to nobody and nothing. Christ Jesus saw this, and trying to counteract it, he said, anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart. Then you, in your not so distant past, have tried to attach shame to anyone who leaves his family, but nothing at any time or in any situation has been able to stop man's desire to seek out that sense of instinctively felt grace, the greatest satisfaction, and to persist in seeking it, right? So what she's saying here is that, we've been programmed to believe this is how we interact in relationships, but inside we're seeking for so much more grace, so it propels us subconsciously to continue to look for it, and then shame's being attached to it to make people feel shame for seeking the divinity inside, because we've been inverted, put off kilter, right? Humans are innocent. We are innocent at the core, and there's been a lot of programming and manipulation. Now, we're not victims neither. Look, we as souls, we know what we're coming into when we come into this earthly plane, and many of us are here to see the new codes in this timeline right now. So we do know what we're coming into, so we are not victims. I don't say it in that way, but there has been a lot of manipulation by the dark forces, and it has been a spiritual I don't know if you want to call it battle or war, whatever. There's been a spiritual playing out here, right, between the light and the dark. And it's not about denying the dark. I go into this quite a lot in my program, Reconnect. It's not about denying the dark, because, in doing that, then we are just on the opposite side of the extreme, right? And we are both light and dark, shadow and light. It's about alchemizing those and bringing balance to both of those, and realizing that our divinity is within us, and reconnecting back to that, and we are all connected. So if we harm another, it's like punching ourselves in the face. Imagine learning that at school. Imagine learning, like, if you are if you're purposely manipulating and harming someone, you're literally manipulating and harming yourself. People would feel differently if they understood the connection that we have, but that is kept from people to keep people separate, because in separation consciousness we can be divided and we can be used against each other. But we are waking up from that now. So it says man's desire to seek out that sense of instinctively felt grace, the greatest satisfaction, and to persist in seeking it. A false union is a frightening thing. Children, do you see, Vladimir? Children, they sense the artificial, the falsity of such a union, and this makes them skeptical about everything their parents tell them. Children subconsciously sense the lie even in the act of their conception, and that has a bad effect on them. Tell me what individual would want to come into the world as a result of carnal pleasures alone. Now, I'm just going to preface that, because, again, souls know what they're coming into, right? They know. We choose our parents, so you know what you're coming into, and with these divine plans and reasons why we're coming into certain unions. So however, of course, we're wanting to bring it back to the organic, where souls are coming in through a divine union of love. That is a different body that a soul is coming to. That's a different energy that a soul is going to come into. That is the sort of reality that we are paving for ourselves. So who would want to come into the world as a result of carnal pleasures alone? We would all like to be created under a great impulsion of love, the aspiration to co-creation itself, and not simply come into the world as a result of someone's carnal pleasures, right? It's been so, bringing a child into a world is absolutely sacred. It's just like the greatest gift of creating an actual life, and it's been absolutely degraded. You think about, how women give birth in these hospitals that are just like so clinical and like stressful, and there's no sacredness to that beautiful ceremony that is taking place. It should be a sacred ceremony, done with prayer, done with devotion. It's a real from what I hear, I don't have children in this life. I have chosen, this is not my life for bearing children. I have other missions in this life, there's no, women go through real trauma and hell, and that is not the organic way of birthing. People who have come into a false union will then look to true satisfaction in secret, apart from each other. They will strive to possess body after body or make paltry and fateful use of their own bodies, releasing only intuitively what they are drifting further and further away from, the true happiness of a true union. Anastasia, where I said, can it be that man and woman are doomed this way? If the first time all that happens between them is sex, is there no turning back, no possibility of correcting the situation? There is. I now know what to do, but where do I find the right words to express it? I am always looking for them, the right words. I have been looking for them in the past and in the future, but I have not found them. Perhaps they are right in front of me after all, and then they will appear. New words will be born, words capable of breaking through to people's hearts and minds, new words for the ancient truth about our pristine origins. Don't panic, Anastasia. Using existing words to start with, just as an approximation. Just have a drink. What else can one possibly need for true satisfaction apart from two bodies? Complete awareness, a mutual striving to co-create sincerity and purity of motive. How do you know all this, Anastasia? I am not the only one who knows about it. A number of enlightened thinkers have tried to explain its essence to the world. Krishna, Rama, Shiva, Christ, Muhammad, Buddha. I would continue to go on. Magdalene, Isis. There's many different consciousness structures that have been part of this Christ consciousness. Christ consciousness does not belong to a religion. Christ consciousness is source consciousness, and it's the consciousness of understanding that you are divine and you are connected to all, and that it's about bringing this unconditional love back into the planet. And that it's about that you do that connection is inside of you. It's not in a guru, it's not in a material thing, it's not in something outside of it. Can't be bought with money. It can't be found in another. Well, you can see it reflected in another, right? We can see it reflected in each other, in our animals, in the people we love, in nature, but it's the connection is within us. You've read about all of these. Where, when? I have not read about them. I simply know what they said, what they thought about, what they wanted to accomplish. So sex in itself, according to you, is bad, very bad. It leads man away from truth, destroys families, an enormous amount of energy is wasted. Then why do so many different magazines publish pictures of naked women in erotic poses? Why are there so many films with erotica and sex, right? Because they're trying to pervert us all. And all of this is extremely popular. Now, I'm not saying sex is bad, right? It's about a union of souls coming together in love, in co-creation. I think when we start to uncover, and I'm still on this journey, so I'm not gone. I've been single for, I would say 20 years, but I did have a kind of relationship, which was important. So that's not to belittle it, but really, I've been single for 20 years, and I haven't had sex for. I don't know, 6 years, 5 years. I'm not actually 100% sure, to be honest. And I am absolutely fine with that. I have no desire for sex. And I'm not saying it's bad or anything like that. It's just that I know, the next time that, the person that I am with, it has to be someone that I am connected to in a divine space, in a very intimate space, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically. But that won't be happening until I really respect my body now, and that wasn't the case in my 20s when I was growing up through all the programming at all. And I've started to uncover a lot of ancient going back into ancient times, back into the organic templates, that really it was about tantra, about really the coming together. The body was about these energies combining. So again, I can't speak on this right now because I don't know enough about it, but I feel like the way we came together was different to the way we've been seeded to do. So I'm not saying sex is bad, like I guess she's here, like I say, but I think I understand what she's saying as well, how it's been used against us. We've been used, they've really, we've got these biological systems that feel pleasure, and that's been weaponized against us, right? With all that's what they've been showing us on the outside, and telling us who we are and telling us what a relationship is. So she's saying very bad. It leads man away from truth, destroys families, an enormous amount of energy is wasted, and we're supposed to use that creational energy as well to do things with. So it's also when they've got that program out there of making it, good for boys to be having as much, making it like a troth there, and then making it like a troth, like, well, for women it's equality, right? That we're sort of giving away our power by, and we're actually abusing our bodies by having sex with people that we don't really love, that we're not really connected to. It's a one night stand, all these things. Again, we're literally draining our life force energy. It's using that seed of creation, so it's depleting the man's seed by life force energy, and it's harming the womb and the creational space of the woman as well, and they understand this. So sex itself, according to you, is bad, and most girls women that have one night stands, they don't feel satisfied after it. They don't feel loved. They don't feel valued. It doesn't feel good. It certainly didn't for me. And when I was doing it, I was absolutely hammered. I was off my face, and many of me and my friends would do that, get off our faces, right, and get hammered, and that was a way to escape this life, and that again is a reflection that, and that's normalized as if that is just normal. It's just a rite of passage. It's not normal, and it's not a rite of passage. It's brainwashing, it's wounding, it's trauma that moves us into those. But I'm not saying, I don't regret any of that. I look back, all of that was part of my awakening process to get here. I had to live through that to be able to see through the illusion as I started to awaken up. But it's time for us to speak truth now. It's time for the truth to be heard, and stop holding up that lie. I don't know many women that enjoyed, that felt good after that at all, and I'm pretty sure most men didn't either. Then why do you want? Okay, so she's saying why is it in the magazines, in the films, and if you watch the films now, right, they literally perverted beyond perversion, right? And children are seeing these. So imagine what what were we seeing, right? And all of this is extremely popular. Demand generates supply. So you're trying to say that our humanity is completely bad. Humanity is not bad. I'm glad she said that. It's not. But the devices exactly of the dark forces obscuring spirituality by provoking base carnal desires. These are very powerful devices, right? And also this is why it made it basically so difficult for people to survive, because they keep people in survival consciousness in the root chakras. So people are basically working now for what they can barely afford to survive, right? So you're just working in stress and anxiety for what? To keep paying back all this debt, all these taxes, for all this money that's being like siphoned off for all these horror wars and things like that. It's crazy, but we're seeing it, right? We're seeing through it now. So humanity is not bad. No, it is not bad. But the devices of the dark forces obscuring spirituality by provoking base carnal desires. These are very powerful devices. Yes, they are. It's literally MK Ultra type stuff. They bring people a lot of grief and suffering. They act through women exploiting their beauty. Yep. A beauty whose real purpose is to engender and support in men the spirit of the poet, the artist, the creators. It's almost like a muse, right? But to do that, women themselves must be pure. If there is not sufficient purity, they start trying to attract men by fleshly charms, the outward beauty of empty vessels. In the upshot, the men are deceived and the women must suffer their whole lives on account of this deception. So what then is the result? I queried. Through all the millennia of its existence, mankind has not been able to overcome these devices of the dark forces. What would mean they are stronger than man? Man hasn't been able to overcome them in spite of the appeals by spiritually enlightened people, as you put it. So it is downright impossible to overcome them. Or maybe it's not necessary. It is necessary, absolutely necessary. Who then can do it? All of us, guys, all of us, by just healing, going on our inner journeys, healing our bodies, seeing the truth, embracing the truth. We are energetic beings and we can sense truth. And right now Right now we are being bombarded with light, with solar flashes of light. This is why it looks like chaos on the outside, because the light is getting so bright that all the darkness that we couldn't see, all of the programs, we are now seeing them. So they are being burned up in that light. And also, really came to me the day a lot of, we've had the 3D world, which has been the world which actually you could refer to as the underworld, the world where we've been inverted. Everything that is organic has been turned inside out, upside down, and we've been in a world of suffering and pain and feeling bad about ourselves, shame and guilt, like we're just these horrible creatures, right? And that's been the message that's being put out there. And then, there's been frequency control, so many things to create war, to create trauma, and trauma keeps creating trauma, right? And then we had the astral, the fourth dimension, the astral world, which is a world that you couldn't see with your eyes. It's unseen, but that's where all the thoughts, all the thoughts have been, all the entities, everything. And what's been happening over the last few years with the lights been coming, those planes have been collapsing, the astral's been collapsing. So it means what has been in the unconscious, what has been in the world that we couldn't see consciously, is now right there for us to see. So as that astral's collapsed, now we're seeing it, we're bumping into our own shadows, and we're seeing that. Hold on, I'm just gonna stop a minute. I think that is my door. It wasn't. Okay, so that's why the shadows are much more, because I'm going to link a video at the end about the subconscious, which I did last year at some point, about the subconscious and the conscious merging, because the astral plane collapsed. And now we can see those shadows. It's no longer hidden. Things are no longer hidden. They're coming up. Why are they coming up though? They've got to come out of the shadows. If they don't come out of the shadows, we can't heal them with our light. We can't transmute them. We can't alchemize them and change them, because a lot of those shadows are false. They're illusions. They're not the truth. But when they're in the shadows, they are impacting our lives and impacting the whole collective. So as they come up, we can start to face them. But it feels like chaos when we're going through that place, because all of a sudden it's like, whoa, things that we might have done to numb out the shadows, like drink or drugs, or think, none of that stuff works anymore. None of that stuff will work. In fact, it's going to make it louder and louder and louder. That's why a lot of people are suffering right now as well, because they're resisting the change that is coming in organically. They're resisting the healing. They're afraid of facing those shadows because they've been suppressed for so long. They're scared. But I just want to say that healing is not something to fear. It can be a real fun journey. I think, like, I know that my clients, they enjoy, often at the end of the journey with my clients, they'll send me thank you cards. They'll say how much they've enjoyed the process, how enlightening, how engaging it's been, because it is engaging. Healing is engaging. Yes, there'll be times when you feel uncomfortable, but so what? We don't fear being uncomfortable. It's just a part of growing pains. It's just a part of growing. We have to go through those void moments, those pauses, the abyss. We have to traverse through them to come out as a butterfly, to move into the light. But it is a fun process, and it's going to bring so many blessings, miracles, and joys into your life when you decide to go on that healing. Eventually, you're going to have to face yourself anyway. When you don't face yourself, when you resist. In fact, I'm going to be, you might want to check out in my description. I am looking to raise some funds for some mission work that I'm doing in Costa Rica in November, and anyone that contributes, small or big, I'm going to share with them, as long as you send me your email address and let me know that because my GoFundMe page doesn't tell me who's contributed. I just realised that. But if you do, I'd be so grateful. Obviously, you can check out the information below. But anybody that does, I'm actually creating a soul masterclass and energy transmission right now, which is all about surrender. It's about surrendering to our healing, surrendering to our abundance, surrendering to that, really whatever it is we need to surrender. Because when we're in resistance, we're pushing against it, and often we resist because we've got illusions, fears in the mind. So we work through that. As soon as we start to surrender, we're starting to flow with the ocean. We're starting to allow the divine to bring in what it needs to bring in, to put us on the right path. And we start to move out of struggle. We start to move out of fear, and we start to move into ease and flow, and a much more effortless experience with the universe and with ourselves. So you could check that out below as well. Okay, so where did I get to? Okay, so it's saying, I assure you, Vladimir, that that is enough of your whole life to be happy. You will understand eventually, you will feel the same way. People enter many times afresh into sexual interactions only through the flesh, not realizing that true satisfaction in the flesh is impossible to attain. A man and a woman who unite on every plane of existence, impelled by radiant inspiration, right? Every plane, earnestly aspiring to the art of co-creation, exactly, experience tremendous satisfaction, right? We are here to create something magical and beautiful on this plane, and we can do this together with our partners through that intention to connect from on all levels, all planes, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. We're looking at what is our divine plan together. What do we come here to work together, to collaborate, and to seed through that creational energy? How can we use that creational energy that is created in the womb, that is created through our bodies, to birth something in that is going to help all of humanity? No transitionary thing. This satisfaction, no, it never can compare with fleeting fleshly gratification. As you cherish the feelings from it over time, all planes of being will, with influence, sublime, happily your life and the woman too, a woman who can give birth to a creation in the Creator's own image and likeness, his design. Anastasia held out her hand towards me, trying to move closer. I quickly darted away from her into a corner of the cave and cried, out of my way. She got up. I crawled outside and backed off from her a few steps. You have deprived me, quite possibly, of my chief pleasure in life. Everyone strives for it. Everybody thinks about it. I don't. Only they can't talk about it out loud. They are illusions, Vladimir, those pleasures of yours. I have helped save you from a terrible, harmful, and sinful appetite. Now, again, I've talked about sin. I don't believe in sin. I believe that is there to make you feel shame about yourself, and do not feel shame about yourself. That is an emotion that has been there to hold humans hostage. Illusions or not doesn't make any difference. It's a pleasure recognized by everyone. Don't even think of trying to save me from any other harmful appetites as you see them, or by the time I get out of here, I'll be no relations with women. So he thinks that she's taken away his, he won't be able to have a desire to have sex anymore, so he's freaking out. No drinks or appetizers, no smoking. That's not something most people are accustomed to in normal life, and that's true, right? But the more that you start to heal and connect to your own soul, you start to lose, like, I don't drink anymore. I've completely lost all desire for alcohol, you know. Again, no judgment, but for my body, it's like, no, there is still things I am putting in my body that I know are poisonous to my body, that are not good to my body. I know this, so this is no judgment. These are the illusions, the programs that we work through. But the more light that comes into the body, the more naturally we start to just, our body just starts to not want these things anyway, so it becomes easy. You're not going to want to, the more healing you do, you know, people worry about this, say, well, I enjoy drinking, I love it, but I'm going to be honest with you, it's a program. But you know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You have to do what is right for you at the end of the day. And I used to say that about smoking. I enjoy smoking. I love it. I realised that wasn't the truth. I realised my body definitely didn't enjoy it, and it was a mind illusion that I'd created in the mind to be able to keep myself trapped in that loop. But you know, these things happen organically. I do not miss drinking, and I used to be a huge drinker, and I would never thought there would be a day when I'm just like, no, you know, I don't go to that many parties anymore because just don't really enjoy that stuff really. But sometimes there is a party and it's, you know, something of a friend or something, and I'm, you know, happy to go spend time with family and friends and things, and you know, I don't drink, and I don't miss it one bit. In fact, I'm just so glad that I'm not doing that anymore. It just feels so good. I feel so good. I don't feel deprived. I don't feel like I can't be myself. In fact, I feel like I'm being more myself. So, you know, these things just change as we awaken. It's not something that we feel that we're deprived from. But what good can there possibly be in drinking and smoking, in the senseless and harmful digestion of such a huge amount of animal meat, when there are so many splendid plants created especially for man's nourishment? You go and feed yourself with plants if you like, but don't get in my way. A lot of us get pleasure out of smoking, drinking, sitting down to a good meal. That's how we do things. Do you understand? That's how. But everything you name is bad and harmful. Bad, harmful. I just want to say here, like, just because again, don't, if you're doing any of these things, we all are. If you live in the world that we've lived in, and you haven't been growing up in a forest, which if you're watching this, you likely haven't, then we've all been programmed into these things. So we don't need to feel shame and guilt about it. Again, it's that healing journey we go on. As we focus on our own healing, our body naturally will align with what is right for our body, and what is right for one body is not necessarily what is right for another body. And if I am a vegetarian, but that's my choice. That was my body's choice. If you eat meat, it doesn't make you not spiritual. It doesn't make you bad. It is about really, I would say, look at what meat you are eating. Though I would say that, because I realized this when I used to be a massive meat eater. I stopped eating meat in my early 30s when I started to realize about factory farming, and I just instantly knew, wow, I mean, it was horrible, absolute horror. So the horror aside, and it made me instantly stop. It was easy. And my favourite meal was steak. It was easy, and even my friends were like, "You're never going to do it, Corinne." And I just thought, I've already done it. It's already done. It was easy. And when I realised what I was participating in, and I instantly just got this message that, what we're consuming in our body, we're consuming that consciousness, right? Everything is alive, everything is conscious. So if we're eating something that's gone through trauma, if the animal itself has been treated badly, which is what happens in factory farming, has been treated badly, has been fed badly, has been pumped with lots of crap, so we might think we're getting something cheap. We might think, wow, we're getting something so cheap here, we're saving money. But we have to understand the value of ourselves and our health, and you're not saving, you're harming yourself. Right? Everything we digest, we're digesting that consciousness. It's becoming a part of us. So that we're digesting that trauma, then we're creating that trauma in our body, right? So it's in knowing these kind of things we can start to make new choices for ourselves. But we have to be kind to ourselves as we make those choices, because we're not going to be able to do it all at once. Especially when we've been doing something for so long, it's hard for us to be like, well, I'm fine. But that's because we've got used to substandard health as well. So we don't realize what it actually means to be in health in the body. I'm actually, again, this stuff I'm doing in Costa Rica, I'm going to be going on a series of detoxes for all the organs. I can feel my organs going, yeah, I can't wait. They're so happy about it. And I know whilst I've been pretty good the last, I've got so much better with my diet and how I look after my body. I kind of like that. I've been going through so many upgrades in my body, I found it almost hard, and I've almost resorted a little bit back to having more sugar, more chocolate, which I don't tend to eat a lot of, and I can feel how it takes a grip on you, right? And I know my organs are like, we can't wait for this detox. So it's like perfect timing. I know that's going to fill my body with so much energy, and it's important for the work that I'm doing. So that's how we do things. Don't you understand? That's how. Hold on. Okay, so bad, harmful. If guests come to celebrate at my place and they sit down at the table and I tell them, here are some nuts to gnaw on, have an apple, drink water and don't smoke, how would now that would be bad. Is that the most important thing when you get together with friends, or sit right down at the table and drink, eat and smoke? Whether it's the most important thing or not is beside the point. That's how all people behave the world over. Some countries even have things like ritual dishes, roast turkey for example. That is not accepted by everyone, even in your world. Maybe not by everyone, but I happen to live among normal people. Why do you consider the people around you to be the most normal? Because they're in the majority. That is not a good enough argument. It's not good enough for you because you will not listen to explanations. My anger at Anastasia began to pass. I recalled hearing about medical prescriptions and sex therapists, and the thought came to me that if she had somehow injured me, the doctors would be able to fix it. I said, okay, Anastasia, let's make peace. I'm no longer angry at you. I thank you for the wonderful night. Only don't you try saving me from any more of my habits. As far as sex goes, I'll fix the situation with the help of our doctors and modern medicines. Let's go for a swim. I bet actually now when he's got to the end of these books and, gone through his awakening and stuff like that, he looks back at some of these things and is like, wow. I'll get the doctors to fix me. I began heading for the lake, admiring the morning woods. Just as my good mood was beginning to come back, well, there you go again, walking behind me, she piped up. Medicines and doctors will not help you now. To put everything back the way it was, they will have to erase your memory of everything that happened and everything you felt. Stunned, I stopped in my tracks. Then you put everything back the way it was. I cannot either. Again, I was overwhelmed by a feeling of rampant rage. And I have to say, this is natural, right? It's natural for us to feel rage as our belief systems are being crumbled and destructed, and that's what's happening to him right now. He's going through a massive awakening, a massive shift of energy. Things that he's built his life around. We build our life around our beliefs, and they create this solid foundation. But most of our beliefs, as I say in the word belief, is the word lie. They are lies, they are illusions. So as those lies and illusions start to be illuminated, start to shatter, then we can start to feel anger and rage, and we want to hang on to them because we're just going into this, it's like everything is crumbling. So it's really natural to go through these emotions of anger, and it's important for him to let those emotions come out of him. But when it becomes unhealthy is when we're projecting it onto someone else, which is what he's doing right now. But that's not to judge him. We also can look in our own lives and think about maybe road rage, or a time where something's happened and we've projected our rage onto someone and give a story to them, to project into them the reason we're feeling like this. They've created that rage and it's their fault, whereas really she's not really doing anything. She's just telling him truth, and through that truth it's affecting the lies in his body, and those lies are resisting. Those lies are angry. They're like, don't you take us down, right? That's how it works, because these lies, these energetic systems become like, they're like beings, they're like entities that get attached to our energetic field, and those entities are like, hell no, I'm not dying. They fear the death, right? But really it's a transformation. So that's why they cling on. That's where the anger's coming in. So it's natural. We have to be kind and compassionate with ourselves when we're going through these things. And the answer is to go inwards, right? Continue to go deeper on the healing, deeper into truth. The truth will set you free. The truth of the divine light, the sword of truth, the divine will, as that touches every part of your body, illuminates, it sets you free. So it gets angry. Hold on a minute. Again, I was overwhelmed by a feeling of rampant rage. I remember so much rage in 2020 as I was awakening. At the same time, fear, so much fear too. You brazen, you poke your nose in where it doesn't belong and turn my life upside down. And that's how I felt my life was being turned upside down. Everything I believed was being challenged, and I was just like, but I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't necessarily resist those beliefs. I knew what I was seeing was the truth, but it was still painful, even so, as it was being destructed, because I all of a sudden couldn't connect to so many people around me because they just couldn't see what I could see, and I felt alone. I was so grateful at the time, actually, for my niece who was living with me, who was awake with me at the time, waking up with me at the time, and my friend Claire as well, I was so grateful for that. So you played a nasty trick on me, and now you say you can't fix it. Well, I did not play any nasty tricks. After all, you wanted a son so badly. So just reflecting your life when this is coming up as well. But so many years have gone by and you still did not have a son, and none of the women in your life would bear you a son. I also wanted a child by you, a son too, and that is something I can do. And why are you getting so concerned ahead of time that things are going to go so badly for you? Maybe you will still come to understand. Please do not be afraid of me, Vladimir. I am certainly not trying to meddle with your mind. This happened all on its own. You got what you wanted, and I would very much like to save you from at least one more mortal sin. And again, like, she's grown up in the forest, right? And obviously we're still bringing things through our own filters, and there she's got a filter of sin. And what's that? Pride. You're a funny one. Your philosophy and lifestyle aren't human. What do you find in me so inhuman that it frightens you? You live all alone in the forest and communicate with plants and wild animals. No one in our society even comes close to that kind of life. How can that be, Vladimir? Why? Anastasia exclaimed, flustered. But what about the Dakniks? They too communicate with plants and animals, only not yet consciously, but they will understand one day. Many have already begun to understand. Oh, come on. Now she's a Dachnik, and this ray of yours, you know a lot, but you don't read books. Sheer mysticism. I shall try to explain everything to you, Vladimir, only not all at once. I am trying, but I cannot find the right words, comprehensible words. Please believe me, all my abilities are inherent in man, absolutely. It's something man was given right from the start, exactly in the organic template, the organic structure, before the modifications to the genetics. Back in the days of this pristine origins, and everyone is capable of doing the same today. Nevertheless, people will certainly go back to their pristine origins. It will be a gradual process after the forces of light triumph. Yes, baby, the forces of light are triumphing. But what about your concert? You sang in all sorts of different voices. You portrayed my favourite artists, and even in the same order as on my videotape. That is how it turned out, Vladimir. You know I once saw that tape of yours. I shall tell you later how it happened. And what you right off memorized the words and tunes of all the songs. Yes, I memorized them. What is so complex or mystical about that? Oh dear. What have I gone and done? I have talked too much. I have shown too much. You have become frightened of me. I must be muddled-headed and tactless. My grandfather once called me that. I thought he was just being affectionate, but in fact, I am probably tactless. Please, Vladimir. Anastasia's voice betrayed a very human concern, and this was probably the reason that almost all my fear of her had now left me, because you can feel the truth, right? You can feel the truth of her words, because she's speaking. She's genuinely not trying to provoke fear in him. She's just trying to be honest with him and share the truth. And she's emanating that innocent energy, and that innocent energy is very, very powerful. That divine energy is very, very powerful, and it cuts through lies. And he can feel the truth, right? He can feel the nurturing. My whole feelings were preoccupied with the prospect of my son. Okay, I know I'm no longer afraid, only please try to be a bit more restrained. Remember, your grandfather told you that. Yes, and grandfather. But here I keep on talking and talking. I have such a strong desire to tell you everything. Am I a chatterbox? Yes. But I will try. I shall try very hard to restrain myself. I shall try to speak only in terms you will understand. So you'll soon be given birth, Anastasia, I said. Of course, only it will not be on time. What do you mean it will not be on time? Ideally, it should be in the summertime when nature can help with the nurturing. Why did you make that decision? If it's so risky for you and the child, do not worry, Vladimir. At least our son will live. And you and I shall try to hold on till the spring, and everything will adjust itself then. Anastasia said this without a tinge of sorrow or fear for her life. Then she ran off and jumped into the little lake. The spray of the water in the sunlight took flight just like fireworks and landed on the smooth, mirror-like surface of the water. Some 30 seconds later, her body slowly began to break the surface. She lay, as it were, on the water, her arms widespread, her palms upturned, and smiled. I stood on the shore, looked at her, and thought to myself, will the squirrel hear the snap of her fingers when she lies with her baby in one of her shelters? Will she get help from any of her four-footed friends? Will her body have enough heat to warm up the little one? If my body should cool off and the baby have nothing to eat, he will start crying, she said quietly, coming out of the water. His cry of displeasure will awaken nature, or at least part of it, before the beginning of spring, and then everything will be all right. They will nurse him. You read my thoughts. No, I just guessed that you were thinking about that. That is quite natural. Anastasia, you said your relatives are living on the adjacent plots of land. Would they be able to help you? They are very busy, and I must not take them away from their work. What are they busy with, Anastasia? What do you do all day long, when in fact you are so completely severed by your natural environment? I keep busy, and I try to help people in the world, the ones you call Dachniks or gardeners. So I'm going to leave it there. We're going to start on the next chapter, the next time we do the reading, maybe in 3 days. Her beloved Dachniks. So thank you.